In the short time she was queen, Anne Boleyn produced one of Britain's greatest monarchs of all time, Queen Elizabeth I. Elizabeth was little under 3 years old when her mother was executed, just 3 years after she was crowned on June 1, 1533. Despite her young age at the time of Anne's passing, historian Tracy Borman has claimed that Elizabeth was influenced by her mother. The author of the new book, Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth I, has sought to debunk the popular myth that Elizabeth thought very little of her mother. In fact, the Queen from 1558 to 1603's actions say quite the opposite, Ms. Borman claimed when speaking at the Hay Festival in Wales in May. Ms. Borman explained that Elizabeth was traumatised by losing her mother, which she said had a physical effect on the monarch. The author of Elizabeth's Woman, quoted in The Guardian, explained, "She was given to nervous fits, as they were described, and often stomach complaints. She had migraines. It was very obvious that she had been literally traumatized by her early history, and, when she was pressed on the issue of marriage, she would become almost hysterical." The former queen declared that she would never marry because she was already bound unto a husband, which is the Kingdom of England, and is often referred to as the Virgin Queen. While it has been argued that Elizabeth said very little about her mother over the course of her life, her actions speak louder than words, Ms. Borman said. The monarch would wear her mother's pendant in paintings, with it being thought that she inherited her mother's famous bee necklace and an ad brooch. Elizabeth also owned a locket ring which contained portraits of both Elizabeth and Anne, which she kept in a locked casket until the day she died. At court, she surrounded herself with her mother's relatives, often promoting members of the Boleyn family. Don't miss Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon's rivalry debunked in new analysis. Henry VIII suffered great grief over Anne Boleyn's death. Insight, mystery behind Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn's 2 weddings. Report, it makes sense that Elizabeth would seek to quietly remember her mother, as Anne was known as a great whore at the time. It would have been risky to align herself with a woman who was executed having been guilty of charges including adultery, incest, and conspiracy against Henry VIII. There were similarities between mother and daughter. Just as Elizabeth's trauma had physical manifestations, so too did Anne's, Ms. Borman explained. She claims that a possible reason why Anne suffered 3 miscarriages was due to stress, while the other theory is that she suffered from a condition, rhesus negative, which can cause miscarriages. Ms. Borman said the pressure and stress to produce a male heir surely took a toll on her physical well-being. Anne had a miscarriage in 1534 and gave birth to a stillborn boy in January 1536. That same year, she was taken to the Tower of London, where she was tried and beheaded by sword following what some historians believe was a witch hunt led by Thomas Cromwell. After Anne's death, Elizabeth was, like her older half-sister, Mary, declared illegitimate. But she, along with her 2 siblings, were later brought back to court by the time Henry was married to his 6th and final wife, Catherine Parr. Elizabeth was fond of her stepmother, and Catherine took custody of the then 14-year-old upon Henry's death in 1547. Tracy Borman's book Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth I, The Mother and Daughter Who Changed History, published by Hodder and Stoughton in May, is available here.